Blizzard had a busy second quarter, reaching milestones on a number of projects. These include the start of beta testing on World of Warcraft, Warlords of Draenor, the release of Hearthstone on iPad, and ongoing testing of new content for Diablo 3 and our unreleased team brawler, Heroes of the Storm. Starting off with World of Warcraft, the franchise remains healthy with revenues up year over year. This is due in part to ongoing interest in Warlords of Draenor pre-sales, which now exceed 1.5 million, and the character boost, which suggests strong support for the expansion by the community. As we mentioned on the previous call, we anticipated fluctuation in subscribership due to seasonality and the fact that the current game content is at the end of its life cycle. And as expected, we did see a decline in subscribers, which mostly came out of the East. This pattern is right in line percentage-wise with the drop that we saw at the end of Cataclysm's cycle in Q2 2012. That drop in 2012 was followed by an uptick in subscribers just ahead of Mists of Pandaria's launch. So we're hoping to see players return once we draw closer to the release of Warlords of Draenor later this year. On the development side for World of Warcraft, we did begin beta testing for Warlords of Draenor in Q2. Q2 was also a big quarter for Hearthstone, with the iPad version of the game launching in April. That version has been popular, bringing millions of new players into the Battle.net ecosystem and building on momentum from Q1's PC launch. Hearthstone has also been growing in popularity on the esports side, with a number of big tournament events taking place around the globe. We also announced our year-long Hearthstone competition, which will collect competitors from around the world to compete at a year-end tournament at BlizzCon for a $250,000 prize pool. A few weeks ago, we launched Curse of Naxxramas, our first adventure mode content for Hearthstone, and it's now available around the world on Windows, Mac, and iPad. The content is split into 5 parts, released over a 5-week period, and it includes single-player challenges as well as cards that players can use in head-to-head competition. Players can purchase the weekly content a la carte for in-game gold or real money, or as a bundle for real money. The community has responded with enthusiasm to Curse of Naxxramas, fueling Hearthstone's biggest week ever in terms of both engagement and revenue. We're pleased with the results, and we look forward to continuing our support for Hearthstone going forward. Moving on to Diablo 3, we're pleased to share that the game has reached more than 20 million in unit sales, including digital. This figure includes the base Diablo 3 game on PC and console, and the Reaper of Souls PC expansion pack. We're looking forward to delivering the expansion content to players on next and current gen consoles with the release of the Diablo 3 Ultimate Evil Edition, which we expect to ship on August 19th. In addition to the Reaper of Souls content, the Ultimate Evil Edition includes all of the updates that we made to the core Diablo 3 experience on PC, as well as some console-exclusive features that make it even easier and more rewarding for friends to play together. And lastly, we just announced plans with NetEase to bring Diablo 3 to mainland China. Rounding out our game updates for this call is Heroes of the Storm, our upcoming hero brawler. Alpha testing continued in Q2 and was expanded to include players from other regions around the world. We're incredibly excited about the prospects for Heroes of the Storm. As we head back into the back half of 2014, we're looking to close out the year strong with BlizzCon and the release of Warlords of Draenor, in addition to the ongoing content that we're in the process of adding to Hearthstone, Diablo 3, and Heroes of the Storm. We're proud to be offering more gaming options that appeal to a wide range of players across more platforms than ever before. Thanks, and I'll turn the call back over to Kristen.
Thanks, Mike, and I think we'll open up for questions now, operator.
If you would like to ask a question, please signal by pressing star 1 on your telephone keypad. If you're using a speakerphone, please make sure your mute function is turned off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. Again, that is star 1 to ask a question, and we'll pause for just a moment to assemble the queue. We'll take our first question from Justin Post of Merrill Lynch.
Thank you. Looks like you're guiding 3Q above the street. And what can you tell us about Destiny pre-orders and anything you can tell us about the units there? And then as you think about as the unit sale gets sold in this quarter, what does that mean for the digital opportunity as you look forward? Thank you.
Sure, this is Eric. I'll take those in order. Well, first of all, as I mentioned in our prepared comments, Destiny pre-orders are on track to be the largest ever for a new IP in the industry. But it's important to note that pre-orders are just one data point that we look at when determining the momentum of a franchise like this. We also look at our quantitative studies surrounding things like purchase intent and awareness, and we're seeing strength in those areas as well. It's also important to just sort of reset expectations as it relates to pre-orders overall. You guys can see the same thing we see industry-wide, which is that there's been sort of a secular downturn as it relates to pre-orders. We think that's happening due to a number of factors, things like increased digital consumption, particularly on the next-gen consoles, titles being widely available on day one, and the decline overall for demand of software on the previous-gen consoles. So given that trend, even more important to us than pre-orders are the quantitative metrics that I mentioned, so I'll just share a few highlights from those. Destiny's awareness is at an all-time high and climbing when compared to any other new game intellectual property this distance from launch. Purchase intent is similarly at an all-time high and rising when compared to any other new IP. And we had 4.6 million players in the beta with almost universally positive sentiment. So all of those add to our sense of momentum for the launch. Overall, we're really pleased with the performance of the Destiny beta. We're pleased with the broad range of metrics that we look at to gauge momentum and our chances for success. As for your second question about digital, obviously our strategy here is to build as large an install base as possible. So a big launch is key to that, and gaining momentum early is key to that. And we have a robust plan for follow-on digital content to provide to our players, which we think will be highly relevant. And we've already announced 2 expansions that are coming.
Great. Thank you.
We'll take our next question from Brian Pitts of Jefferies.
Thanks. Quick question on Hearthstone. Can you give us an idea for the type of engagement you're seeing out of the Naxx expansion? And longer term, any commentary on your belief in having a really new long-term revenue stream? Finally, just a quick question on Call of Duty. Any sense on how pre-orders are progressing at this point, especially relative to previous years? Thanks.
So we're very pleased with the engagement that we've seen out of Naxxramas. And I think that it really bodes very well for the engagement that we'll be able to drive in the future with additional content for the game. And so I think we'll learn more as time goes on, but the fact that last week was our strongest week ever for Hearthstone in terms of both revenue and engagement, I think is a really strong sign. It's important to note that we still have yet to bring the game to the Android and iPhone devices, and if you look at the response we got from bringing Hearthstone to the iPad, which brought in millions of new accounts on Battle.net, I think there's a lot of engagement and opportunity around those platforms as well.